Today's podcast is brought to you by StrongHeartAcademy.com, where no heart is no victory. We are also brought to you by BJJ To Go. If you want to build your game and learn Jiu-jitsu, go to bjjtogo.com. Third thing we're brought to you by is Rat Bat. Got rats? Want to kill bats? Kill them with a rat bat. Fourth thing we're brought to you by is hot dog flavored water ingredients. If you want to add it to your smoothie, hot dog flavor ingredient. All right. So, what's your name?
Brandon Delafield.
Brandon Delafield. How did we know each other?
I started training under you, I don't know, what was it, 10 years ago, maybe less?
Yeah, at least that.
Yeah.
Maybe longer than that.
Yeah.
Because I think Alex did like 8 or 9 years with me.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you came after. Yeah, so that's about right. About that. I put out on the interwebs that, anyone that want to talk about anything, and you messaged me and you wanted to talk about your son and what happened and some things that you wanted to get off your chest, I would say, and maybe some injustices that you thought that need to be discussed. Is that fair?
That's fair.
Fair assessment?
Yeah.
All right. So I was just going to let you kind of explain maybe what happened, and then go from there what you think should be changed or happened with the police department.
Well, I want to go further back into before the incident happened.
Okay.
We're talking about Alec Delafield. He committed suicide. He's my son, and he was 19. And go further back, looking at some of the signs that before he did it, I didn't really understand. Him and I were very close, and so we spent a lot of time together. And he was a man of few words. And over the last year, there was an energy about him that, when we rolled, for instance, when we rolled in our garage because of the pandemic, and the energy was off. It was almost a malicious roll. It felt different.
Like he was angry.
Angry, yes. And I just said, okay, well, maybe, every young man tempts his father.
His dad, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And he was kicking my butt, to be honest. Kicking my ass. He's faster, he's better trained, and I'm older now. So
Yeah. He's
he
a
told
young
me,
man.
why do you have to go get old on me, old man? And I was like, I'm sorry, man. I'm trying,
Yeah.
And he said my problem was that I wasn't trying to hurt him. And I said, well, I'm not going to do that to you. So,
He said that you weren't going like hard
enough. But it wasn't about the hardness as much as it was the energy. You can feel energy in a roll. I have never felt that energy rolling with somebody ever in my time. And I've trained since I was in my younger 20s.
Okay.
And so I've never felt that energy before. And even to a point, at one point, we got into it in the living room at one point, and it was a misunderstanding, and we ended up grabbing each other, and we both had each other by the shirt, and I both looked at each other, and I said, that's enough. And we walked away from each other, and that was the end of it.
Yeah.
But it was almost that moment. And these are like the signs I'm seeing, right, where I feel like he was trying to push me away so I couldn't see what he was doing.
Okay.
How he was feeling, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So then I began seeing things getting pushed into trash cans, things getting thrown away that I didn't things that meant something to him. And so I would always take it out and put it back
You would
up.
find things that he threw away.
Yeah.
Okay.
That meant something to him.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I was like, this is weird. Maybe it just fell in. I'll just pick it up and pull it back out. But then after the scenario happened, going through all of his room, because I became like a CSI private investigator, and just going through everything, I refound those items back in the trash can again. And so I was like, okay. So, and then I found, he wasn't eating dinner a lot. I'm looking back going, his mood changed, he's not eating dinner a lot, but he seemed fine. Maybe he's just going through an adjustment. It's what guys do, kids do,
Yep.
But at the end of the day, he buried it, and something that, something about suicide, and I believe about all violent crimes, is when somebody's going to attack you, and this is something that I read in a psychology book called When Violence is Necessary. When somebody's going to attack you, they don't speak. You can try to reason with them, but they don't speak.
Okay.
So you know they're not ready. They're not open to negotiation.
Yeah.
And so now when we're talking about suicide, right? To me, it kind of almost blends into it. Is if you're not talking about it, you're not negotiating still. You're not negotiating anymore. You've made the decision. And so for me, when I'm looking at it, he made the decision. He knew what he wanted to do. He did it. He carried it out, and there was nothing any one of us could have done differently.
Yep.
Nobody. I don't have any regrets. I mean, I have regrets in regards to, maybe I go back and go, hey, how could I have done this differently? But every step of the way was with the intent of making him a better man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, we were kind of having a conversation before we started about drugs. And one thing I didn't say that I really believe is when I talk to all the people that got off drugs and when I had those conversations in alcohol, just addictions, and I realized this, I had an uncle and I had a best friend that went to prison and from drugs and trying to help those people all the time, help. At the end of the day, you can't help them unless they want to be helped.
Exactly.
And that is hard to grapple with for me. It's like, cause I'm a person that really I really like to help people, but you can't help people that don't want to be helped or aren't ready to be helped too.
Right.
Like they have to make that decision that, okay, hey, I need to seek help. Then you can pour all your love into them, give you whatever they need. But until that happens, like, it's like talking to the wind almost, and I think you could be supportive and not shut them out, but like, to change someone's mind when it's already made is really hard to do, if not impossible. They have to make that decision. We don't control people. Nobody controls anybody. So it's just that support. So I kind of understand what you're saying. Where like the decision was made, and it's unfortunate. That's just unfortunate. It just sucks. But
It absolutely sucks. It is unfortunate. People go around their life. I'm married and I have 2 other sons. I have 2 other sons, and I love them all dearly. But Alec was my first, and he was my person. You know?
I tell people, when this happened, I was telling people in the school, I'm like, I've known them for a long time, and I remember when it was just you two, before you got married. I remember,
Right.
And I remember it was like he was like your best friend, and I remember you telling me the beginning of like living with your friend,
My friends, yeah.
You were living with your friends and just you and Alec.
Yeah.
So Alec was almost like one of the boys in the house.
Yeah.
Now he was still a baby, little,
Right.
but like almost like you were both growing up at the same time.
Exactly.
And that's a different.
I was 20.
Yeah. It's a different level of like. It's a different relationship.
Yeah.
I was older. I was 30 when I had my first son.
Right.
And I still remember feeling lost. There's no instruction manual here. Am I going to break him? What
What'd I do?
I didn't have any, younger. So sometimes when you have really young brothers or sisters, like you help raise them and you're oh, okay.
Yeah.
I never had that. My brother was really close in age, so I never had that. And I remember thinking that when this happened, I was like, I know the closeness of him and Alex because he's told me, and they've both told me about it, how it was. And I can see how it's just different. Like, I know he's your son, but he was also like.
He's my person.
Yeah.
He was my best friend.
Yeah, for sure.
And so, but like I said, that's not. I wouldn't change anything.
Yep.
Wouldn't change anything. How everything happened, but we grew up together. I was 20. What 20-year-old male knows what the hell they're doing?
No.
I would say it was a blessing that at a younger age I took care of my younger brother Nathan. He's 8 years younger than me.
Yeah.
But it was a blessing that I was there. But I think the blessing is mainly getting thrusted into a position where you have to make a decision.
He probably helped you
Absolutely.
grow up.
Absolutely.
Like if he wasn't there,
I wouldn't be the man I am today without him. I wouldn't be the man I am today without being, Nathan's older brother, without being Alec's father. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I grew up in rough times.
Yep.
So it was a decision when Alec was born made to do the right things.
Do the right thing, yeah.
And the right thing's hard. It's hard. I mean,
Yeah.
I was making $9.50 an hour, in the beginning of taking care of him, and that's nothing. That's $20 at the end of the week.
Yeah.
So it was a tough time, but you have to make those decisions, and I decided that I would do right by him.
Yeah.
And even along the way, I more recently, even at he's 19, and I'm going back, I didn't have an adult figure to teach me things growing up, so now I've got to go back and relearn all these things to teach him things I don't know, but I have to show him I can do it, so that way he knows it can be done.
Yeah.
And if I don't, then he doesn't think it can be done. So along the way, children don't subscribe to just listening. They want to see you do it.
No. Example.
Yeah, they want to see you do it.
Yeah. The whole do as I say, not as I do is bullshit.
It is bullshit.
It's 100% bullshit.
We like to say it's a cop out, unfortunately.
It is. Yeah. You have to walk the walk.
Yeah.
And everyone, not just kids, people see that everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Even when I do what I teach or whatever, and I say things, and like if kids, I tell them, oh, I'll do this, that, and then they don't see me doing it.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, okay.
Well, because they see the writing on the wall.
Yeah.
They see you for who you really are.
Yeah.
And kids are very good about telling, just like animals are good about telling, seeing through your bullshit.
Yeah. They're observing and they're learning, and like you said, like they need to know what's possible, and it's easy if you can give them an example of what's possible. And I've always thought that in my life too, like when I want to do something, if I see it's been done, it's way easier.
Way easier. And we talked about that about your father.
Yeah.
About you having a father and me not having that father image.
Yeah.
And how being able to go to kids like when you were growing up.
Yeah.
Like I go to kids' houses like your father, your house, and I would see the example of a man, and I go, you know what? That's the kind of guy I want to be. He works hard. He brings home with his family. Yeah. That's who I want to be right there. And you know what? I became that.
Yeah.
I became that. So I think that it's important. And even with jiu-jitsu, for that matter, I mean, I trained when I was younger, but I put him in it. And then when I told him what to do, he didn't listen. But so I strapped up and put the gi on, and I said, let me show you what I can do.
Yeah.
Let me show you I can do this.
Yeah.
And so here we are. You know what I mean? And so, but it catapulted him. That was the basis that catapulted him. That from learning at a younger age jiu-jitsu, catapulted him to taking 5th in state.
Yeah. Oh, wrestling.
Yeah.
Well, I was always a big proponent of wrestling too, so
Absolutely.
I supported anyone that wanted to do wrestling. I'm like, well, that's what I did first. So
it's a great foundation.
I think I love jiu-jitsu, but wrestling is my core or whatever.
Yeah.
It teaches you a lot. So, I don't.
Yeah.
I get that.
So we grew up together, and growing up together, we learned a lot with each other, and every step of the way I had to show him everything was possible. And so here we are, with this whole scenario. He didn't show any signs to me, and so at the end of the day, I ended up, he did what he could to protect us with this. What I say by that is, he did it not in the home. He didn't do it with he didn't do it with my firearm.
Yeah.
My firearms. He didn't touch my firearms.
Yeah.
He did it he went and got his own. He got a hotel room, and he was even kind enough. Unfortunately, I hate to put this out, but he kind enough to put, tarp up. And consider it to the last second.
Yep.
To the last moment, right? And that's the thing about, and I've tossed back and forth about myself, is that, about gun safety and everything. And I had different ideology about it before him. And it was, you teach him gun safety, you take him out, you take him shooting, you let him touch it, you let him clean it, you take it apart, you supervise it. And hopefully, and I thought 100% there'll never be any curiosity. Those rules are in place. You never look down the barrel of a gun. I don't care if it's loaded, unloaded, you just don't do it.
Yep.
And you always point in a safe direction where it's not going to accidentally go off because you treat a gun as if it's always loaded.
Yep.
Always loaded.
Yep.
And so as a father now, I have 2 younger sons, and now I'm sitting here thinking to myself, where do I go from here? Do I continue teaching those gun safety rules? But I think to myself, even if these kids never shot a gun, each child in this country with the Second Amendment rights should know about gun safety, because you never know when a child will go to another child's house and what their gun safety rules are.
Yeah. Or they find one. One second. All right, we got interrupted. So
you're talking about gun safety and how
gun safety. So my thing is that it's funny because I'm grew up in Arizona. Guns are just part of culture.
Part of culture.
And we were taught gun safety and all that kind of stuff. And I have all these like liberal friends because of jiu-jitsu in New York City or in Canada.
Of course.
And it's like, look, you probably never held a gun, seen a gun, and you're telling me how evil this thing is.
It's no more evil than a pencil.
Yeah, a hammer. I can take a hammer and just hit you over the head.
I can stab you in the throat with a pencil.
Yes. Yeah. So it's the intent of the individual.
Right.
And we don't really talk about teaching people how to not murder people. You know what I mean? Like
the safety of it. Like I said, even
the safety,
the liberal friends
has to be.
You don't know whose house they're going to.
Yeah. Or you can find one somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, someone ditches a gun. They did something nasty.
When I was little, I did.
And they ditch it, and you find a gun, and you're fooling around with it, and you point it at your buddy, and you shoot your friend in the chest. You know, like my kids know you don't point a weapon at anything you don't intend to destroy.
Of course. Which
is a target or a human or
you just don't
animal.
touch it if I'm not around. Period.
Oh yeah.
Ever.
Yeah. You don't touch it. You don't touch a weapon without adult supervision.
Right.
But I think so. I still think those are still important, regardless of what happened.
Right. But did it make him more comfortable with holding a firearm? Because even the day before, they took the gun he bought out with a friend, and he went skeet shooting, and he was maintaining. I watched the video his friends like showing me, and he's maintaining, perfect safety protocols. He's even hitting his targets over and over again. I mean, this was a great fucking kid. Yeah. This is a great man. Yeah. And I gave him everything good in me. So I he's doing everything right, but I think it's still important to talk about gun safety and to teach gun safety, regardless of whether you're going to shoot one or not.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I think it's important for your kids to know that the tool itself has no feelings, has no anything. Like nothing. It's not. It's an object and it's a tool and it can destroy things. So you still have to mind that, Well,
you use fire for cooking, right?
Yeah.
But you could also burn down somebody's house.
For sure.
Right.
For sure.
So I mean.
Yeah. It's I probably haven't done enough with my kids, honestly, with teaching them how to break them apart or anything like that. But I should probably do that too.
Well, me and my buddies, when this happened, we weren't loose about it, but we were kind of like, they were raised around guns. It's like having a jar of cookies on the counter.
Yeah.
You don't have any curiosity anymore. You know the rules.
Yeah.
You keep your stuff in a safe.
Yeah.
For me, an unloaded gun is not helpful. So you keep it in the safe. You keep one in the hole. Yeah. But nobody touches the safe. You can't get in the safe. But for Alec, because I trusted him wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
He knew where the safe was. He knew where he had access to everything.
Yeah.
He had access to the kingdom of those items, but he went out and bought his own.
He's bought his own, yeah.
Because he knew, even at that moment, he knew that he would crush me.
Yeah, he didn't want,
He was going to crush me. And he knew it was going to crush me, but he knew there was something he had to do. I don't know why, but he didn't do it with mine. He didn't do it in the house, and those are the things that would crush us even more further.
Yeah.
Because then I'd be having another kind of conversation right now. I mean, I still feel iffy, but I still think that at the same time, you have to talk about gun safety.
Well, that's the other thing is it's out there. So like you can't, like you can access a gun.
Yeah.
The access of a gun is not that hard.
No.
Yeah. So
even
it's important to teach people the dangers of it is what my point is, I guess. And there's just no education on it at all. But.
No, they don't talk about it, because how do you have Second Amendment rights, but you don't teach the kids about the Second Amendment, teaching around it? Those are the rights. You teach them everything else in the Constitution, don't you?
Yeah.
But you don't teach them about this thing. Something I'd like to bring forth, and also, I mean, like, I'm pro-gun. You know what I mean? Because I've seen what evil can do growing up.
Yeah.
I've seen home invasions. I've seen drug deals. I've seen things happen around my house, things that are not great, and have been through abuse. So I know guns are essential to our society.
Yeah.
But I think that the age an 18-year-old shouldn't be able to buy a rifle. It makes no sense to me, and maybe somebody else could clarify to me that how is it you're able to buy a handgun at 21, but you can buy an AR-15 or a shotgun at 18, and your brain's not done cooking yet. At 18, I was stupid. I was dumb. I did a lot of crazy things. You know what I mean? I did crazy things probably up until Alec was born. Even then, I had my moments. You know what I mean? And so, I mean, that law. I don't say, hey, don't. I think the legal age to be legal as an individual should be 21. Yeah. And that's being 18.
I think it's just for hunting, because kids part of the country.
But you go hunting with your father, with your
but
grandfather.
Some go by them. Like some places, you don't even need a permit to go out and shoot squirrel, anything. Right. Some places you don't need a permit. Right. So you just live out in nowhere's land, and you literally just walk off your property and go walk out in the woods. And this is part of your, like what you do for fun. You know what I mean? It's not like a it might even be a thing to feed yourself. Actually, some places you don't have, it's part of your meal.
That would be an exception. That makes sense.
So, but I get what you're saying is like the dangers of it, and not being really old enough to.
Well, at least if it's going to be 18, just let's talk about it in school a little bit. Yeah. Just talk about the safety. Yeah. Maybe just cover it. I'm not saying they've got to hold a gun. Let's talk about it, because those kids, even the liberal kid or families don't believe in guns. Yeah. Your kids are going to go to other people's houses. And I've been in a room with a guy who had a gun, who was as old as I was, and accidentally shot himself in the hand. I've had a shotgun go off next to my head. Oh, jeez. And I'm like, and they were under the age limit, but I'm in a room with them. I was a scallywag when I was younger. And so
I when I was so I used to go shoot in the desert, but I do it less and less because there's just idiots out there. And like a range, I at least know we're following the rules.
That's true.
All right, stay behind the line, no firing. Like there's rules involved. For sure, someone can swipe, but those guys get kicked out of the range, and I'm not going to. But I'm in the desert, like nobody out there. Right. That's regulating anything. And there's people like, again, that have they're pointing the gun. I'm like, I've met people like, whoa, what are you doing?
Well, those people that during the pandemic, you went to the pawn shop to get a gun, and everybody bought all the AR-15s and AK-47s, and I'm like, nobody bought the shotguns? I'm like, you've never shot anything else, but you and bought all the other high artillery, but the one thing that you only point and spray to defend your home, you didn't get. Shotgun, you didn't get. Yeah. But you got the AR-15 because it's cool, and you got the AK-47, but you've never shot none of them. Yeah. Yeah, shotgun's better too, because it's not going to go through all the. If it's pellets, you're not going through all the drywall. Right. All those high-end rifles and you don't have to aim.
Could even go into your neighbor's yard. Right. When you're trying to get someone inside your house or whatever.
You want to minimize risk.
Yeah, and I don't know, man. I've had people. I'm really strict with guns. So like, if you wanted to say, hey, let me see your pistol, I take the mag out, I pull the slide back, I stick my finger in there, so you see that there's no round in there. I show you the round, then I hand it to you. I never hand a loaded gun to anybody. Never. If they want to put the mag back in, that's fine. They just want to manipulate to see how the mag drops or whatever. But I don't hand a loaded weapon, so you won't accidentally.
Well, I wouldn't ask to hold your gun, unless we're at the range. It's just you don't ask another man to hold his gun unless we're at the range, and that would be the only place.
I've seen Todd buys guns, and I say, oh, let me see your gun, but I always take the ammo out of it. Okay. I always make sure there's nothing in the chamber. Always.
And always point downrange.
And I'll never point it at anything. Right. And that's just gun safety 101. And no one ever accidentally gets shot in the foot or leg or femur or chest or whatever. But people have handed me guns like by pointing it at me. Like, what?
Do you hand somebody a knife with the point end?
Yeah. What are you doing? That's like running with scissors. What are you doing?
What are you doing? Don't. Well, you want to believe that everybody has common sense, but common sense isn't very common, right?
No.
No, I along the way I've given people too much credit, thinking that they get it. No, nobody gets it. And if you think your kids get it, they don't.
No, they don't.
They don't get it. Don't ever think and trust that your children. You should. They get it. They don't get it. My children say, yeah, Dad, we've heard it enough. No. I'm going to sit here and talk to you very slowly so you understand every single word that comes out of my mouth, because I don't leave anything on the table where you think that I left something out.
So I
You know, no, it's all good.
I'm paranoid
No, I
that
got it.
things aren't running.
No, keep it going, dude. You're doing a great job.
I don't want to.
You're doing a great job. But I spell it out for them because time and time again it's proven to me, well, you didn't tell me that thing.
Yeah.
I didn't. Well, then let me sit down for an hour and talk to you about all the various factors that are in. Well, we don't have to. No, you do. You do. Because I don't want to hear you didn't get told. I want to tell you every single piece.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, now you're making me go, oh, man, I need to teach my kids more.
Well, I'm still debating on, because my wife is feeling some kind of way, justifiably, you know what I mean? So
yeah, for sure.
And
you always have to negotiate those things with your partner.
Right.
That's just part of life.
And she wasn't raised around guns, and she didn't see the value in guns until, to be honest, somebody jumped into my backyard, and I was sitting by the back window, and the sliding glass window was open, and I heard a chick in the backyard, and I looked out and I saw somebody in a hoodie with a baseball cap right there, and it was in the dark so I could see the silhouette. And so I got up and I ran because he's walking toward the sliding glass door, and I'm in the bedroom and the family's up there. So I ran around real quick, and as I ran around, they're like, "What's going on?" I unsheathed it and stuck my my holster on the counter and walked outside and drew on him, and he jumped the gate and ran.
Yeah.
And I called the police, and they responded, and they said, "Just put your gun in the house and we'll respond promptly." And you can't shoot somebody in the back, so I'm not gonna. My goal is not to shoot you. My goal is to make sure you don't ever come back and bother my family again.
You know that's not the yard that we mess.
No. I mean,
I tell people all the time. I used to live in the ghetto over here. First of all, I've lived in like 3 ghettos.
The square.
Yeah, right close to the square. Yeah,
right.
And well, that was a different one. I lived across the street from the square. This was like back when everyone was losing their houses in like 2007, and I had this small little house, and all the houses around me at one point all were empty because they were all people lost their houses. Yeah. And so we would get all these cars across the street. Those houses were all getting broken into.
Yeah,
all their cars and houses were getting broken into, and I had this little wiener dog, and it was people go, oh, that's a good guard dog, like being fun, joking. I'm like, no, it is. They're a hound dog. He hears. He's not going to stop anyone, but he will alert me.
Right.
And
I'll stop you.
And I'll stop you.
Right.
And I would go out there, and it was like Mexicanville, basically. We were the only white people around at the time. And so I'll go out there in my underwear with my pistol, with my .357. Right. And I want him to know, this is a crazy white boy. You don't. Right, this is not the crazy white boy you want to.
Right.
And I even wanted to be in my underwear, so they knew that I'm willing to shoot you in my underwear. Right. And my house never got fucked with. It never got broken into. Well, because every time I heard a noise,
mutual respect.
I was outside
mutual
with
respect.
My pistol in my hand.
Mutual respect.
And then I remember my neighbor here, he got broken into. The guy across the street got broken into, and then across like 2 houses from that got broken into. My house never got broken into.
I lost a car in the square.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, the square's a lot of cartels in the square. But even them, I wanted them to know.
You know what the cops told me when they
pick your target, because this is not a soft target.
Right.
This is a hard target.
Right.
You may get me, but I'm going to get you too. And it's kind of like a tree frog, one of those arrowhead tree frogs. Your bright colored things, just so like, look, man, you might be eating me, but if you eat me, you're gonna die.
Well, it's the same thing when we talk about in jiu-jitsu and wrestling, and even in a fist fight. What I tell my boys is, you might have to fight somebody bigger one day.
Yeah, for sure.
But you might have to wrestle against somebody bigger one day. But you make them pay a heavy price for
Make
victory.
them know, they're gonna
they don't
pound
want to do this again. They don't want to do this.
Pound or a penny.
I lose, but you don't want to do this again.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
And those type of people that are jumping in your backyard, they don't want an easy. They want an easy target. They want one with no dogs and not a crazy dude with a gun.
Right.
Why would they want that? That's way more risk.
Right.
You want a soft target house with no gun,
and that's what they're looking for.
And
that's what they're looking for.
They found the wrong one, so they're probably not going to come
back. That's what
back.
they're looking for. They're looking for 2 Prius in the front yard and in the driveway, and I'm stereotyping, but looking for somebody who's soft, who's
for sure
soft as margarine.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're looking for somebody that it's an easy target. They don't want somebody to fight them.
Yeah. It's funny with we're going to talk about the police, I guess, in a second. But when we got broken in here, and they think, what I think my theory was, they thought that this empty space that we're in right now was the bar extended.
They were broken. I'm like, damn it.
I think they thought they were gonna go through my bath because they broke in and they went into my bathroom.
I think I remember this.
And they tried to cut a hole in the wall, and they realized this is a firewall, so they couldn't break through the wall.
This isn't the movie Casino, bro.
No, but they had all these tools.
Right.
And then I had him on camera because I have cameras here, and I tell the cop, I'm like, I have him on camera. He's like, cool, man. We have people that break into rob banks without a mask. We don't know who these are. I'm like, so you're not gonna try? You're not gonna do anything? Mm-hmm. So my point is, like, sometimes people think they're safe because they have cameras, all these Ring cameras.
Well, the cops can only do so much for human beings, and they don't get the training that they deserve.
Yeah.
For that matter.
No, they don't get trained either. But even with the cameras,
it's not enough.
It's not saving you when you get shot.
No, it's not gonna save you.
You're still dead.
Right.
You know what I mean? Maybe they find the guy, maybe they don't, but you're just dead regardless.
And you probably won't find the guy.
And you probably won't find the guy.
Right. You probably just get shot, and that'll be the end of it.
Yeah. And then what are you gonna do? You're gonna build, locks over everything. Like you can only do so many locks. Most people in Arizona have a sliding glass window. That's pretty easy to break in.
You have to take responsibility for your own well-being. You cannot trust somebody else to handle your shit for you. And I tell my sons this all the time. Nobody should care more about your shit than you. Nobody. That's directly from me. You shouldn't care more about your grades, your safety, your life, anything. You should care more. You should be the number one person who cares about your safety. And if you're a father, your number one goal is safety of your family. And we're talking about gun safety a lot, but before I had a family, I didn't own a gun because I was okay with catching a black eye. I'm okay with kicking an ass whooping. But within the realm of me and my family, if I'm with my family, I'm gonna shoot you if I have to. I don't want to, but I will.
Yeah, I took Carly to the range, and I taught her how to use pistols, and then
everybody should know how to use the guns in the house, right?
Yeah, and then the one that we use in the house is a revolver. I have I don't really want to. I don't like people to know what I have.
I wouldn't go into that.
Yeah. But that's an easy enough thing that won't jam most likely. You just point and pull and aim for center mass, and we keep it simple. Point, pull, center mass. Done. And then with revolvers,
they're not zombies. You don't need to hit a shot.
Touch them, and it won't jam it. Sometimes with a slide,
right? I saw.
If you touch, if they get within range,
it doesn't have room to go.
It won't go. Yeah. So with the revolver, you just
spin.
You just click, and
it's a great
that
idea.
should be enough.
That's great.
And anyway, I didn't want to get too far into.
No, but it's a good conversation. I like it.
Into guns.
Well, we have to talk about that because what we're talking about is suicide via gun.
Yeah.
That's why we have to talk about these things because we can't. Oh, the kids are shooting. Well, listen now. I could hurt you with a spoon if I had to.
Yeah. Well, we also were talking about drugs earlier.
Right.
If someone wanted to take their life, fentanyl is very easy to do and get.
Sometimes accidental, sometimes it's not.
Yeah, sometimes it's not. But I'm just saying, if your intent. I've had friends who were very liberal that said, well, I know a lot of these numbers, the deaths are suicides, and if we cut the guns away, it would be less suicides. And I said, well, no, because
they'll find some other way.
Yes. Fentanyl is very easy to get.
Well, then you go into like there's no reason. Taking away the guns is just giving you another, like in Britain, they don't have guns mostly. And they stab each other with knives.
Yes.
They got machetes.
Yes.
Like tit for tat. Was it 12 in one and a half dozen in the other?
Yeah.
What doesn't matter.
I agree. Okay, it's on. I apologize again. Where were we?
We were talking about people making decisions to quit doing drugs, or when you make a decision to do something like quitting drugs or not quitting drugs or even suicide, sometimes it's just a decision that has to be made.
Yeah.
When a person decides to quit doing drugs, just like with anything else, you decide to step on the mat and train jiu-jitsu. You decide you're going to wrestle. You decide, you know what I mean? It's anything in life. You decide to start a business. You have to make a decision.
Yeah.
And that decision has to be wholehearted. You have to go in, you have to go in with both feet,
Yeah.
But in regards to that, though, suicide in a way is that way where, when they make the decision, they're just not going to negotiate and tell you about it anymore.
Yeah.
And they go quiet. They go radio silence. So, and for Alec, I think he was really great at masking it. and I would have never expected it. And him and I had a great time. He was a funny kid, very helpful, very loving, and I didn't see this coming. None of us saw it coming.
Yep.
And I even had to go back further. I even had a conversation with my boys about a year ago. My mentor, the guy who got me into jiu-jitsu and taught me a lot when I was still a knucklehead, Eli Trujillo, taught me jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And he actually took his life about a year ago.
Yeah, I remember seeing it. I met Eli just randomly, literally, because he was eating at the restaurant that was at my old gym.
Oh, yeah, Brandon's Public Grub. Yeah.
No, even farther than that. When I was at
over there next to that Subway, yeah.
Subway, yeah. He was in that
Plaza?
Weird. There's always weird restaurants.
Yeah, because he lived around the corner from there.
Yes. And then I remember him telling me about his business and stuff, and I was like, oh, I do jiu-jitsu. And he's like, oh, I do jiu-jitsu. Oh, I used to do jiu-jitsu.
Right.
And I didn't even know you guys knew each other.
Oh, crazy.
And then we met up on Facebook, and I talked to him for years on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
He was a Facebook friend because I met him just randomly talking to, because I'm weird. I'll just talk to people.
Works.
I'll just talk to people.
Yeah.
So, and that, it really bummed me out. That was another one that bummed me out.
Mm-hmm.
And I never would have expected that. And I thought he was doing well in Colorado. I think he moved to Colorado.
Yeah, he moved to Colorado.
Yeah. And
he's doing well.
And I thought he was doing well.
Me too.
But that doesn't mean that you're not dealing with stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
people don't understand, like, with depression, it's not the blues, man. It's not the blues. Like, people get confused. It's not because your girlfriend left you.
Mm-hmm.
That's not depression. Like, it's not because your job, you got no money. It's not that.
Mm-hmm.
It's your brain is not working right.
Right.
And
well, with a lot of this has to do with a lot of this, and I was just having this conversation with a few people this morning about, COVID's real. We're all getting vaccinated. I'm vaccinated, but what we have
I got my first shot.
Well, good, that's good. We have another epidemic, another crisis, which is a mental health crisis.
Mental health, yeah.
Right now.
100%.
I know of, at this point, I know more people that have
worse
died.
than COVID.
I've known more people that have died this year via overdose or suicide than I have known anybody die of COVID.
COVID, yeah.
And now, so then the balancing act is mental health versus not dying from COVID.
Yeah.
And so
when we were forced to close my gym for 2 months, we trained here anyway. And I trained with a bunch of guys that just couldn't stop, and I can't stop. And I try to explain it to people.
Take away their coping
I'm not
mechanism.
trying to be a world champion anymore.
Right.
I really don't care.
Right.
I do this because I enjoy it. I like being around people.
Right.
It keeps me in shape, but trumps all of that is my mental health.
Right.
And if I don't train, this is why I've trained through so many injuries.
Right.
I don't do well, man.
Right.
And then I used to have, I took medication when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I had serious depression.
Well, the medication helps, but you have to take care of yourself.
Yeah. And, so when I turned 19, I stopped taking medicine.
Right.
And when I turned 20, I started jiu-jitsu.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never been on medication since.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell people that I don't think jiu-jitsu is a magic pill that you don't take medicine.
Right.
I'm saying it's helped me.
Right.
Everyone's different.
Well,
but
I'm not
I
saying
do
it
believe
works for everybody. Here's what works for me. Maybe it might help you.
Maybe, yeah.
Right.
And I do believe exercise helps everybody.
Absolutely.
So the trick is find an exercise, something that you enjoy, and exercise.
It could be Zumba. I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care what it is.
I really like to dance.
Dance your booty off. That helps you.
Right.
And so jiu-jitsu, I think there's extra things in jiu-jitsu that aren't in most exercising, like problem solving.
The problem solving is big.
And while you're working out, and then like there's a primal thing that going on where like I think as like humans, we used to be fighting saber-toothed tigers and shit, and we had to fight. Men had to bring home the food,
right?
And if you didn't, you die. So I feel like it tricks our brain to get these primordial things. And your brain's like, yeah, we need to do that. Like we need to
get that out.
We need to get that out.
Men
need to get that out.
Men need to get that out.
Yeah.
If I explain that to my wife, she can understand it, but you can never understand.
She can't feel it.
You cannot feel the complexities of a man. I can't feel the complexities of a woman.
No.
For that matter.
No.
You know what I mean? So I have to try to understand how she feels about things. But at the end of the day,
yes,
there is something inside of me that calls out for that.
Yes.
I have to get it out.
It's the safest way to not go to war.
Yes.
And not have to bare hands try to kill a bear.
Right.
I mean, like, I, at one point we were trying to kill bears with sticks.
Right.
A lot of motherfuckers died
trying
to kill a bear with a stick.
Right. It's not gonna work.
It's the safest. People go, "Oh, you're gonna get hurt." I'm like, you can fart and throw your back out, brother. Once you're 40,
I have hurt myself. I've hurt myself more often, not training.
Oh, for sure.
I like sleeping wrong.
Yeah,
I hurt myself more often sleeping wrong.
Walking off the curb wrong.
And there you go.
It's just
not
paying attention.
All the ankle locks and all the knee bars in the world never screwed you up as much as that damn roll.
Yeah, for sure. So anyway, it's important for me. I know. So I've been to dark places mentally,
of course,
and I know what it is, and I don't want to go back there.
Right.
So.
And the pandemic kind of took away a lot of people's coping mechanisms.
It took away all of that.
And so a lot of people I've trained, like, the jiu-jitsu
or
community.
Isolation too.
Isolation.
People that were in an apartment by themselves. They had things that they used to do. They go to work. Maybe they had friends at work. Maybe they had friends here and there.
Now they're just working.
And now they're just stuck in their own little apartment or room.
And that's where, then you circle back to the idea of addiction versus depression.
Yes.
And then would you go back to the idea of sometimes addiction is just, unqualified depression. Like you're self-medicating.
You're self-medicating.
Because there is a depression.
Yes.
But realistically, what you need is human connection, human touch.
Yes.
Conversation.
Yep.
Have a beer with a friend. I'm not saying be an alcoholic. I'm saying have a beer.
Yeah.
That's what you need.
Not 14.
Not 14. You don't need to down a 30 pack.
Yeah.
Within reason.
Yes.
Right.
Community is super important. Jiu-jitsu is another thing. Again, I go back to jiu-jitsu.
Well, we can only speak on that, right?
Community, but there's community. It's not just one person. There's a room full of people, and you'll make connections with those people.
You're going to. Even stretching further back, because, in jiu-jitsu, like, the community is so small. Like, I got friends in Colorado, friends in Oregon, people who come in town and we train. They come in town, we train, we cross-train. I think as a community, and I don't know, like every community has a community. We can only speak on jiu-jitsu, right?
Yeah.
So in the jiu-jitsu community, even with this whole conundrum, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're, as a family, we're thankful for everybody's support and love, and our cup has been overflowed with the love and support. And a lot of, and at least half of that support was from the jiu-jitsu community. Mm-hmm. People came out and donated. They reached out to me. I have had people that I haven't talked to in years call me, just text me on a regular basis to say, mm-hmm. Hey, are you okay? Mm-hmm. Is everything all right? And the worst part is, is that because Alec and I were so connected, mm-hmm. the people wonder if I'm going to do that. Yeah. So people are on the watch for me right now. People on the watch for me. And the hard part about grieving, right, is in the beginning, I couldn't grieve because I had to make sure everybody's okay.
Yeah. I
didn't lose my shit yet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, you're the head of the household,
right.
So you have to make sure your wife's okay, and then you have 2 other sons.
Right. So I got to be strong.
Yeah.
Now, it's okay to let your children see you cry.
Yes.
That's okay. But I can't just fall apart.
Not really, man.
No, I can't just fall apart. Men, I'm not going to say men because I can't do that. But I'll say, in my experience as a man, and the men I know, we don't have the luxury of falling apart. Nobody. Other men will pick us up. Other men will pick us up. Men like you and men like my friends and men like and even women will pick you up. I mean, I got my friends' wives and my own wife. They're there for you constantly. But the reality of grieving is at the end of the day, 2-3 months down the road, then you start to feel it.
Yeah.
Then after everybody's cleared.
Yes.
Then you can take that dive into. And because right now I'm at that point right now where I'm just livid. I'm pissed on a regular basis.
Yep.
My heart is continually racing. I don't get much sleep. I wake up in the morning and I don't need a cup of coffee. Sometimes I put it away. I used to drink coffee all the time.
Yeah.
Now talking about the subject, even thinking about the subject, my heart begins to race.
Yeah.
Because even in death, we want to protect our children, right?
Yeah.
And so that's where I am right now. In the grieving process, where they talked about it in the beginning. My counselor told me about how this was going to work out, and I said, okay. And so everybody kind of said, you're going to have to act like it's the first time he's heard it. You're going to have to act like he's going through it for the first fucking time. and that's where we are right now.
What do you mean?
Act like I'm just getting the news again.
Oh, you?
Yeah, me.
Oh, okay.
Because I didn't want to stifle my grief at the beginning. It was just was something that was primal in me that like I had to make sure everybody's all right.
Yeah.
And now I can do this.
When you're a leader, head of the house, whatever it is, when emergency happens, everyone looks at the leader.
I'm smooth in the clutch.
And if the leader is panicking, everyone panics.
Right.
And everyone breaks down, and not always in a good way, you know, like grieving. But like, it's important if you are the leader that you have the ability to fake it until it's okay to go, like you said, and then it's okay. Now I can take my time.
But it isn't even a decision. It's biological, it seems like.
It's a biological. I think I think good leaders are they just have it.
Because in the beginning, I was just stoic. Everybody's like, you haven't cried.
Yeah.
You just are chill. Everything's calm. You're like regular. Are you okay?
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm fine. I don't know what to do here.
Yeah.
So I'm doing what I can do.
Yes.
And then now I'm in that moment now where, you know, I'm constantly pissed, and so I have to adjust, and I have to continually work with my family to try to figure my way back through this again.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, time is the only.
And time
is the only thing.
And so all you can do is just wait and work through it. But you have to do self-improvement. Like, you know, through the pandemic, I set a gym up in my garage. I got wrestling mats in the garage. Alec and I wrestled quite a bit. The kids wrestled quite a bit. And so I make myself go out there, and I just lift heavy, lift hard. I've got an Aerodyne bike out there. I ride really hard.
Nice.
I do that once or twice a day if I can, depending on how aggressive I feel. Because aggression in your house with nowhere to put it is not helpful.
No.
Because you're just going to find things to be mad about. And even to the point where I've been like, you know, jiu-jitsu reminds me a lot of him, and but I need somewhere to put my aggression. And I thought I've been toying with the idea of making my comeback and trying to get back on the mat again, because I'm like, I can't continue waking up like this. I can't continue feeling this aggression in me.
Maybe,
you know?
I mean, I'm always jiu-jitsu, but like,
of course.
But maybe boxing, maybe. You know, because then it's not jiu-jitsu, but like you still get to hit something, you still get the aggression out, you know. Right. But then it won't remind you and like.
But I have to get through that.
That's true too.
I have to get through that.
Yeah.
I have to get through that because although Alec's my guy, you know, before Alec, I mean, when Alec was younger, jiu-jitsu was my love, you know. It's my jam, you know what I mean? Like, taking Landon, my youngest child, to his first wrestling practice was tough because Alec was supposed to take him.
Oh.
But being there.
How old is he now?
He's 12.
Oh my gosh.
But he's a monster. And I took him there, but being there, the itch happened, where I was the father again on the side of the mat screaming again. When I thought to myself, like, I don't feel that way. You know, Aiden plays basketball and he's really great at it, and I do get loud, but I don't understand basketball well enough to get into it. You know what I mean? Like I do with wrestling.
He was a stud. Yeah,
he's still a stud. He's still killing the game. I got but when I see wrestling, when I'm there with my kid going, I'm in it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so it brought an itch back, and I've been contemplating whether or not I'm going to make it come back. And the jiu-jitsu community has reached out and said, you know, that's your answer. And so but I have to overcome all that because I can't be afraid of it. So you know, Alec's death is not a big scary monster. Yeah. You know, even with his room, I had his room closed for a while, and I was like, nobody touch it. And I'm used to my house being loud. His music from his room, his voice laughing in the distance, him playing video games. You know, I'm hearing the kids all over the house, but when he was gone, the door was shut, the music stopped. I could no longer hear his voice anymore. Yeah. And so it was eerie, and it was hard for me to sleep. It's hard for me to like go to bed.
It's too quiet
when he's not in the house. Yeah. It's too quiet. The silence is too loud.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The silence is too loud. I can't hear him laughing and cracking jokes. He's not running around the house being an asshole. You know, and I say asshole in a good way.
You know, I heard this dude talk about, you know, I like Spotify. Finally got Spotify this year.
That's great.
And I basically listen to music or podcasts all day long. Yeah. Like when I wake up to when I go to bed. Right. I pretty much listen to music all day long. Yeah. When we do jiu-jitsu, when I'm doing work, whatever. Yeah. And someone said.
It's the boat rowing.
It does. But someone said it's because, not me personally, he was just saying it in general.
The silence is loud?
Yeah. And that you don't want to be alone with your thoughts.
Yes.
And that you want the music takes place of your thoughts, so you don't have to be stuck with just your thoughts.
Well, and that's the hard part.
Because the silence gets filled in with the voice,
with the bullshit.
The internal voice. So I was like, when I read that, I was like, fuck.
And that, and
maybe that's true.
And that's the hard part about going back to work.
Yeah.
Is the silence, because I'm a truck driver.
Yeah.
And I'm by myself the whole time.
Yeah, yeah.
And so the silence is the hard part.
Well, so when I did landscaping, I drove a big truck and trailer, and everyone was Hispanic, and I spoke Spanish to.
I mean, at least there's some gibberish I can listen
to an extent, but I was very much by myself. So I would put headphones in and listen to, again, music all day long.
But people
or
around you,
long.
At least if you opened up, I mean, I can speak a little Spanish. I understand a little bit. You do, too, I'm sure. Yeah. If you live in Arizona and live in the Southwest, you got to understand. You got to
speak, come on.
Something, a little bit.
A little bit.
You got to be able to.
And I can have conversations, but they're not going to be deep conversations. You know, these are very basic conversations.
Right.
Very, very basic.
Right.
So it's like, you could be lonely all day long for sure. So I would fill it with music, and
absolutely,
that's how, like you said, it makes the boat rope for sure.
Keeps the boat rowing. Yeah. What do you like? I sometimes, like even for jiu-jitsu, I would put on like techno music just to keep the
get the beat.
Keep the beat going again. Yeah, because it keeps your mind running.
Well, even like if I'm in traffic or something, which my life I kind of built around, so I don't have to do traffic. But even in I'm getting flustered and driving and stuff, I'll put Bob Marley on instead, because I'm like, it's hard to get pissed when you listen to Bob Marley.
You can't get pissed.
If you're getting pissed, listen to Bob Marley.
You got deeper
more
problems. You got to work through
more problems. So I'm like, so it's even music helps me, like, with if I need a certain mood I'm trying to create for myself, I'll use music to like trick my body into chill out, bro. You're just driving, and you don't own the road.
And and that goes back to also like even the scenario where the music Alec was listening to, and I listened to. We talk bad. Our parents probably talk bad about the music we listen to, whatever. Yeah. But the music they listen to, the lyrics are suicidal. They're not homicidal. Like when we were younger, they were homicidal, which is, it doesn't mean that you should go out and kill somebody.
No.
But they were not about self-hurt, self-hate, self-hurt.
Yeah,
and
really.
When I'm listening to the lyrics, like I never really listened to his music, but I listened to it. It was a very, very dramatic.
Yeah.
And I listened to the lyrics after all was said and done, and I was like, maybe I should dig into this, see what the. And I was like, this is about self-hate and self-hurt.
Yeah.
And so you talk about subliminal messaging.
Oh, yeah.
Subliminal messaging is a hell of a fucking thing.
Oh,
the music, the environment you create around yourself, right?
I love like Dr. Dre.
Of course.
But
it's all entertainment.
Dr. Dre 2001, but I can't listen to it too much. Like I have to back out.
I can't be that amped up all the time.
It's too dark. Like
right.
It's too dark, and
the Chronic album is my stuff, but I can't listen to that. That's too high intensity.
It's too like
it's hard.
It's too dark, and it makes me feel a certain way. So, like people get in the school. I've listened to bluegrass now a lot, and people give me so much shit for my hillbilly shit.
But it's chill.
But it's chill, and the lyrics I feel fine in front of my kids, because I'm more conservative with my kids with lyrics, but the lyrics are way more are better. It's better lyrics. It's just it.
Well, it's just,
and then the music
is more positive.
Yeah. Now they can get dark too,
of course,
but they're never like beating women, selling drugs, killing themselves, killing other people. That is not really part of the lyrics. And so people always they give me shit, but I'm like, I can play this in the school and no one will be offended. No one will be a problem.
Nobody's gonna be a snowflake.
Yeah. Yes. And so it's kind of like
it's a neutral ground.
Neutral for me.
That's what I do when my wife and the kids are in the truck. I've got it's just a chill mix, but it's like more like a love music, like Luther Vandross, Earth, Wind and Fire. Why are we listening to this? Because it's chill.
It's chill, yeah.
Everybody because the kids are gonna be wild. And everybody's going to be calm.
Yeah.
Everybody relax.
Well, I've done it in jiu-jitsu before where they're like, why don't we listen to the heavy metal? I'm like, bro, we will murder each other.
Right.
Straight up.
It's going to amp it up.
I don't need any more injuries.
Well, it's a difference of the way that the movement happens, because in jiu-jitsu, you want the flow.
Yeah, you want smooth.
You don't want
like jerky motions.
Right.
So like I always listen to reggae. And I always tell people with like the Chronic or Dre stuff, he used to use funk beats that he used to steal. Now they can't steal any music anymore, but it was funk.
It was funk, yeah.
And when you're rolling, you don't really hear lyrics. You just hear the beat.
Right.
So that music is perfect. When in adult class, that's what I play.
Right.
Yeah. And it's still a little bit aggressive, so we're not like just laying, trying to do something, but we're also not like you said, jerky motions.
Right.
It's more smooth jiu-jitsu, not crazy.
Hard. Right. You're not trying to throw each other around. So yeah. So, I think that a lot of people just need to get back to their coping mechanisms, and that's where we are with our mental health crisis. Is what I think we're getting at too.
Yeah, but when they took all the sports away was a problem.
Was a problem.
There's nothing to watch on TV.
Right.
And a lot of these guys, they go home, and they just need their sports.
Right.
And even with the protesting and everything,
Right.
and I'm not like, oh, it's un-American to protest, but I do understand where the world seems like it's on fire, because it kind of was.
Right.
People want something to escape.
Right.
And then they go to sports, and these guys are protesting, and they're like, I just want to watch someone
I just
put
want
a
a moment away from all the bullshit.
Yeah,
Please.
yes,
Right.
yeah. And I
Right.
got that. And actually, I heard Charles Barkley saying that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I understand that. Now, I also understand, like, that's their platform, and they want change, and they're going to do something. But they need to understand, like, a lot of people, that's their escape, and you're taking away their escape.
So
And
now they got to balance whether
they're
or not
gonna,
they're going to
do I want to
or
do
that.
this? They're like, oh, I'm not going to watch this anymore.
Right.
It's not good for anybody at that
it's
point.
not good to be. It's not good to take away coping mechanisms.
No.
I have coping mechanisms. Even I know, as long as you can self-evaluate and say, I'm having a rough time.
Yeah.
This is what you need to do.
Yeah.
You just need to have a set of goals. You need to have something you're working on.
Yeah.
If you know something you're working on, make something you're working on. You got to catch a W.
Yeah.
I don't care how small the W is. You like one day I remember driving down the street. I was having a rough time, having a rough moment. This was before Alec, and I see landscapers outside, and the dude's chopping down a tree.
Yeah.
You got his chainsaw out.
I did that.
Well, you know what I did? I got out the truck and I said, "Hey, man, can I chop down this tree for you?" And he was like, "Yeah, you want to?"
Really?
I was like, "I've never used a chainsaw before.
Oh,
I've never
it's
chopped
fun.
down a tree before, and I want to chop down this tree. You're
Yeah.
gonna take it out anyway, right?" He's like, "Yeah." I said, "Well, I'll chop the tree down. Are you okay with that?" He's like, "Yeah." And so I sat out there for 2 hours chopping this tree down for this landscaper dude, and I was
Yeah?
just having a great time. When it was done, I was dirty, sweaty, hot,
Yeah.
and I felt accomplished for some reason. I don't know why.
This is one thing when I did landscaping.
It's a small W.
I try to tell people, like, some people look like it's below them or whatever, but
No.
when I was done with a yard, the job was done.
Right.
Where sometimes these corporate jobs, the job is not really ever done.
Mhm.
You're just kind of like maintaining this weird thing. You're putting numbers in a computer to do something. It's not, there's no like, you don't go, you can't see you don't get to see the thing.
Mhm.
And
finished
for when
product.
I did landscaping, we'd show up the house trashed. When I leave, it looks freaking beautiful.
Mhm.
And I walk, and
I
I
feel
don't
good about
own
that.
it, but I'm like, I did that.
I did that. Right.
And then I leave,
Mhm.
and I had to do a certain amount of things to accomplish that. So there was like little mini goals to make that work.
Mhm.
And I got a lot out of that. I actually did. And when I worked in the only corporate job I ever did was this job where like we did sinking funds, they call it, and construction funds, where I took checks into a computer, I entered those, and then I cut checks out to send to build these churches.
Oh, okay.
And I never got to see the actual even church. In my
That's not
mind,
very
I was like,
fulfilling.
if I at least got to see what they've built, I can go, well, I was kind of part of this process. You know, I didn't build anything, but I never did that. So it was like always unfulfilling to me.
Right.
Like I need
You need to be involved
a finished product.
with your hands.
I got to show me the product.
Right.
And I never
Well,
got
even
that.
showing
So
you
I
the product,
always,
you didn't do it.
What's
So
that?
you know, even seeing the product, if you weren't involved, you feel like you need to be involved in this product to see the finish, right?
yes.
Right.
Yeah. And we never, it was just a nonstop collect checks, put them in, write new checks. And it's like,
That's tough.
but I can't do this.
Well, that's why I can't do a desk job.
Yeah, I can't do that.
Like, you know what you should do? You should do this. You should do that. I'm like, you know, I know that it's hard work what I do, but it pays well, and I feel, I stay in shape and I feel good about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I smell funny and I'm out for 16 hours a day, but at the end of the day,
But when you stack something, like if you're doing like, well, I know you used to do
I used to work for
Hensley, right?
Hensley Budweiser, yeah.
But when you stack and you finish off your load, it's still, I finished,
Oh, you finished it.
however you have to put it in there too. Like you get to see the
Yeah.
rows, it's stacked correctly.
Well,
it's
by date, by product, by
By
the way it's
yeah.
sold.
Yes,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's still
yeah.
like
Yeah.
you still see the
Right.
finished
Right.
product
Right.
of what you're doing is
Right.
what I mean.
I could sit in an office, but offices are not fun.
No.
No, that's where depression lies.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Even furthermore, when you're at home by yourself, like we were talking about.
Yeah.
So I think that also, and I didn't take that into consideration, is that Alec had spent a lot of time in the pandemic not going to school, and we let him go to work, and we let him go on dates, and we let him go hang out with his friends.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to blame the pandemic by any means, but looking at it, I thought I took the family's mental health, made that important. But then looking back, for a while I was coming back and forth to work. I thought that me and him spending time together on my days off, and him just giving him a little bit. I don't want you to go out to like raves and parties. I just need you. I need you to be good. And I thought that was enough, but I mean, looking back, maybe it wasn't enough because. And you think about like even not being able to not wrestling or training jiu-jitsu anymore. He had been training his whole life, and all of a sudden, he's not training as much.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't. When I went to train, he wouldn't train. When I wanted to roll, sometimes he didn't want to roll.
Yeah.
And even when he did roll, like I told you, it was that malicious feeling.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I read something that said that people committing suicide aren't trying to kill themselves, trying to kill something in them. So I don't know what that is. And I probably never will because I've been through his, laptop, his phone. I've been through his room. I've been through everything possible. And every single time I find something new, sometimes it's not bad. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's a good memory. But because I don't know much about technology, and what these kids are very good at it. And so I have to go into apps and search and all this stuff. And anyway, I really didn't take a lot of consideration into how he was spending his time. And I think that would be something I would look out for. Like, you don't need to be in your room all the time. You need to be active. And I try to promote him I built the gym in my garage for the boys, for me too, but for the boys mostly, so they could work out and get out and do some stuff. But at the end of the day, he made his decision. And then, with this decision, we talked about people reaching out and wanting to get help, right?
Yeah.
Or like, people who are drug addicted, they reach out and get help. They'll ask for it and they make that decision. People who are decided to commit a crime or do some sort of violent crime, them not negotiating and not talking, right? And then furthermore, people committing suicide, not negotiating, not talking when they've decided to, right? So here we have Alec, who didn't give me any he said he was having trouble sleeping, but he didn't give me any indication. But here he is now. He's rented the hotel. He went and spent time with his friends the day before. He spent the night with a girlfriend. He said he was feeling some kind of way. But,
she said that?
She said he was feeling some kind of way. She didn't think nothing of it because, they share things together. They talk about stuff. And so he had already rented the hotel room, and he'd already spent time in the hotel room. And apparently he had bought the gun. I had no idea. It didn't even come in my house. But apparently he'd been in his room before because I found pictures with the gun in his bedroom. But looking in his room, I don't know where he would hide a shotgun from me. I was always in his room. Always. I'm nosy, so I'm going through my kid stuff. And even that week, his water pump went on in his car. He just bought. He was proud of his car, and we spent 8 hours after my 16-hour shift at work, and we took apart the car. I've never worked on a BMW. We've swapped out the water pump, chest bumps, high fives, everything. Seemed fine to me. But here he is checking into the hotel. Next day, he checks in. Next morning, he comes to the hotel. He checks in. At 7 a.m. He goes to his room, and I've got the surveillance video. I've requested all the information from the PD, the medical examiner's report, the whole thing. And so far, I've only gotten the surveillance video and the pictures from the room. Now, they blotted him out, but I shouldn't, as a father, because I wasn't getting the answers I got. I shouldn't, as a father, have to go through the details of the situation because I don't trust you. And the mistrust starts with, when we're talking about communication, his call for help. So at 7:05 a.m., he calls PD and calls 911 and says he verbatim said he was going to do it. They sent officers out. The officers, this is the meeting. I requested a meeting with PD. I had a meeting with the head of the Violent Crimes Bureau, my wife and I and my brother. I brought those two with me. My wife, Robbie's reason, my brother, to have a bird's eye perspective, so that way later on I could verify that what I heard. What I heard.
Say? Yeah. What am I? Yeah.
What's going down? What really happened? Because in the moment
smart.
I'm getting bad news.
Yeah.
I don't want it because so what it came down to. So
objectivity.
Yep. Right. And so what the violent crimes guy is telling me is that he reviewed the body camera footage, which I haven't gotten yet. I haven't gotten their final report yet. I haven't got the medical examiner's report yet.
Mm-hmm.
I've got all these reports I'm waiting to see to get the full truth so I can move on or not. Because depending on that report, I can't do anything because from what I understand, the way they handled it was legal.
Yeah.
So the police officer checking at the front desk.
Yeah.
They get the key. to his room, verified it is his room, so they verified it was his phone. He called. This is what violent crime is telling me. They verified his room, verified his phone, went upstairs to his room. They knocked. I'm watching the video. It doesn't have sound.
Mm-hmm.
They knocked, and then they step away and make a phone call. The phone call is to their sergeant to say, hey, can we go in? And from what I'm told, the sergeant said, no, we don't have legal authorization to go in. We don't have enough legal backing to say that he's in the room.
Okay.
This is what he said. Now, the call was kicked out, dispatched as a welfare check. What's your definition of a welfare check? What's the minimum?
Just you have to get contact. I would say you want to at least contact to see if someone's alive.
Or at least put eyes on the person, right? At the bare minimum.
Or hear.
So they knocked. No sound.
Yeah.
They called his phone. They called the hotel phone. No answer. This was, they had arrived on scene at 7:18. So we're talking maybe 7:20-ish. They're at the door.
Did they, in the call, did he say shoot?
Well.
Or harm?
No,
or
he just said suicide.
Okay.
Now, again, I don't have the transcript of the call. I've requested it, but this is what violent crimes told me happened. Because I don't, and I know where you're going with this, I don't expect the cops to go and open that door because he did have a gun. And I don't expect anybody to rush in that room, but open the door so there's a clear line of conversation.
Yeah.
So you know I'm here and I know you're there.
Yeah.
Do not ever, I think, and I try to get on the Phoenix Fire Department myself a lot.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of firefighters, and they do wellness checks, welfare checks as well. And I told my buddy who's a firefighter, I said, do you rush into rooms on welfare checks? He said, yeah. I said, don't do that anymore. I need you to open the door and get a clear line of conversation before you rush in that room because everybody should be safe. I don't want a cop to die over this. Yeah. This is not what I want. But what I want is just effort. Open the door. It's right here. You have the key. Yeah. You don't have enough authorization. Then afterwards, they go down and they verify his cars in the parking lot. So you have 3 things that verify he's there to do a welfare check. From what I understand, and not just being around the fire department, they only need that call that he's.
So he's in the room.
He's in the room.
He's just not answering the door.
There's this much wood between him and the officers. Yeah. And a key.
Yeah. And
he could be alive. He could not be alive, but we'll never know. And that's what was the hard part about it was, and everybody's been really great. I'm not going to blame anybody. It sucks, period. But from the beginning, we don't know if he was alive or not. We wouldn't know if he was alive or not, even if we didn't go in the room. If we went in the room,
and nobody heard anything. They didn't hear the noise.
Well, it was on the 4th floor, and I didn't hear a shotgun blast, I guess.
But I mean, there's nobody on the sides of them. He
was at the very end of the hallway, and they tried to tell me there was only one family up there. But from the surveillance video, I can tell there's 4 different families going in and out that area.
I'm so surprised that nobody. That's loud.
It's loud. And
those walls are so thin. I've heard people getting it on next to them. Like, geez, I'm trying to sleep here. Right. I can hear you in the other room.
Right.
A shot, I would assume, is, I don't know, 10 times louder than that.
A shotgun blast is loud.
Loud. Yeah.
Especially in a small room.
Yeah.
And so for them, to me,
I'm just so surprised that nobody in the hotel
ever
called someone, the front desk, and said, hey, what happened? I heard this thing, even for me with my family, if I heard that, I'm like, we're leaving this room. We're going outside.
Well, and that's another thing,
and we're going downstairs until I know what's going on.
Safety's number one.
Yeah. And
above all.
I'm just surprised that none of that happened.
Well, even that,
or no reports of that happening. On the front desk,
no sounds, nothing.
That's crazy.
And it's crazy to me because you had a key, you had everything you needed to hear. And again, I don't work for either organization, but I told them during the meeting, I said, at the fire department, I said the fire, if you as the Phoenix Police Department can't go in legally, which I find out and I hear that it's horseshit. They can go in. They should have gone in.
Yeah.
And that's through other resources that I'm still working with. But then you need to understand what your resources are capable of. That means you should have called out fire, and fire should have come in and come up to the door because, from what I understand, within reason, fire can go in. They don't need a warrant. They only need is a person possibly down.
Yeah.
All they need. This is from what I understand. Again, it's not illegal or whatever. So, to me, in my research too, also is that when people are in this state of mind, that you knock on the door, if the police knock on the door, they think they're in trouble, so they won't answer. Because police to them are there to arrest, not there to help. But if fire knocks, they're there to help.
Yeah.
And that's the difference.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, I think that police should be there, as always, to protect and secure the scene.
Fire. Yeah.
Protect fire.
The guy.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but I think that the person knocks on the door should be fire. But the police should be there.
Yeah.
Because safety first.
Yeah.
I don't want anybody to die from this. I just want you to do your job to the best of your abilities.
Yeah.
Don't give me the legal bullshit, okay? Because even if it's legal, it's still wrong. You had the key. You had an opportunity. There was a chance he was still alive on the other side of the door. Had that 7 a.m. call gone the way it was supposed to go, where you opened the door and found him dead, fine, I take it. I take it at face value. I understand. It happened. I don't blame anybody for this, but what I do blame is the incompetence of this. You didn't open the door. It's incompetent. It's negligent. But it's not legally negligent because you didn't directly kill my son. But there was a chance that there was a chance he was alive.
Yeah.
But then instead, they get a call at 2 p.m. to come collect his body. You know what I'm saying? And that's what pisses me off. You don't get the call. I don't have this conversation with you. And maybe I still have this conversation. Maybe it's a different conversation about mental health and mental well-being. But we don't have this conversation about the possible negligence of the Phoenix Police Department.
Yeah.
You know, those two officers were doing what they were told by somebody else who knew more legal ramifications than these two guys did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't know what to do from there. But what I do know is I've contacted lawyers, and they said, yeah, you could find somebody to take the case, but at the end of the day, you may not win this case, and you'll be, further down the rabbit hole than you want to be, and be broken more than you want to be broken. Yeah. And I don't want to drag you through that. Yeah. But and he said, this one lawyer said, he was great enough to like sit through an hour conversation with me and lay it out to me and quote me stuff. He says, I can take the case, but I'm telling you, like we have to prove that they were grossly negligent. Yeah. They directly.
Yeah. So I asked someone before we had this conversation, and he's a lawyer, and he said,
it's tough.
Yeah. Like as far as legally, it's almost, there's nothing here.
I just want to know. I want to say they fucked up.
I would fix it. I would say it's not wrong to maybe ask the police to change their procedures. Yes. That this is what we're going to be doing in the future. Right. Like we will.
Just say that to me, because during the meeting they didn't want to say that to me. During the meeting with PD, I was thankful for them having the meeting with me, but during the meeting, we're going round and round about the definition of a welfare check. They're telling me legally they checked his welfare. Yeah. And they're going round and round about this. Yeah. But they're not telling me, and I keep asking them, so what do we do next? Well, you have to change legislation. You have to. And I'm
and maybe that is something positive that can happen. That is. That if you want to put your effort into something. Right. Finding your representative and championing the cause of the legal definition of a welfare check. Right. Eyes on person. Right. Actual confirmation. Right. Of welfare. Right. Versus an attempt or whatever. I don't know what the definition is. Right. So maybe it just needs to be a more clearly defined definition of a welfare check. And that could be something that you could champion that cause, and it could be a positive thing for many people. You know what I mean? So
because that could have been anybody's family member.
It can,
and they'd be going through the same thing. And furthermore, in regards to that, championing the definition is having to gather another hard part about this whole process is trying to track down all of your loved ones' possessions they had. Now, mind you, if it doesn't have bodily fluid on it, it should go. Bodily fluid should go, right? But if it doesn't have bodily fluid on it, the family should make the decision on what gets thrown away. And at this point,
this stuff,
they're items they had with them, right?
Oh, okay.
And so I'm going through the pictures, going, I know that he had, a pocket knife. I know he had, a gun case. I know he had all of these items, a bunch of different items in there. I got his phone back, his car keys, his wallet. But then I didn't get the rest of the stuff back. It given to the hotel, because I talked to the biohazard company. I given to the hotel, and the hotel's like, well, we don't have it. Well, then who does have it? Yeah. So now I just got to chalk it up that the knife I gave him for Christmas, his first knife I gave him for Christmas is gone. That the gun case he bought for his gun is gone. That his Alexa product is gone. That anything that he owned that was sitting there that wasn't, and I verified that those items did not have anything on it. Yeah. And now they're gone. Yeah. They're just gone. And all you can tell me is that he got thrown away. Yeah, and I think it's part of the grieving process. You have to gather all of your child's things. Yes. And then once you've gathered them all, You
decide what to do.
Decide what to do, but you can now move forward.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm at right now. That's where my family's at right now. I just want
for closure's sake.
For closure's sake.
Yeah.
I understand what happened. I understand what you did was legal.
Yeah.
I understand all of that. I'm gathering all this information so we can move forward. But you don't give me the reports. You're not giving. You're stalling on me, man. You're able to access it. So why don't I have the information?
Yeah.
Why didn't they go in the room? Why wasn't the welfare check done right? And even furthermore, I don't even know if the definition legally is the wrong part, which is so much more than, talking to retired personnel. And they're telling me that just was an unfortunate poor call on the sergeant's part.
Yeah.
It's an unfortunate call. It's an unfortunate call because I was like, well, was fire dispatched at all? And they go, no. And I said, well, why wasn't fire dispatched? Because you're telling me that if you found him and he was alive, but he'd missed.
I'm curious.
Then they fire 6 more minutes out.
What we're talking about also is like the sheer number of like people having issues right now. Right. I'm wondering what are the number of wellness calls are being done,
welfare checks, and how are they being handled,
and how are they being taken care of?
Because from what I understand, because I've made phone calls for welfare checks because I've worked at nights quite a bit, and I'll see people like it's wintertime, it's cold outside. There's a guy in Old Town Scottsdale drunk on a bench, no shirt on, wearing a pair of shorts. Yeah, I'm not going to touch him. I called for a welfare check.
Oh, you call the police or whatever?
I called 911. If you ever call 911 right now, it's a fucking it's a conundrum.
Oh, it's not good. Yeah.
Well, you have the prompts in the beginning. Yeah. Heaven forbid if somebody's coming after you.
Oh yeah, you're done.
Hey, did you pick English or Spanish?
It was back to the gun thing. It's like I try to tell people like you have 3 minutes minimum
to get to the call.
No, survive.
Oh, right.
I'm saying if something's in your house, and you get a call, you still have to survive 3 minutes.
You don't have time to take that call.
Yeah. But let's say you
speaker.
Let's say you hide under your bed and you're making the phone call.
Right. They can
you still have 3 minutes before anyone's coming to save you.
Right.
So
minimum. No, actually, the response time, from what I understand, is like, for fire. I don't know about PD, but fire is they want everything within 6 minutes of an emergency.
That's a long time.
Right. 6 minutes. So I don't know.
Police
didn't show up on scene for like 10 minutes.
Back to jiu-jitsu. Be in mount position for 6 minutes.
Fuck my life.
Have someone take your back for 6 minutes, and you're like, okay, you got 6 minutes to not be choked out. Good luck. Fuck. It's an eternity.
Especially if you don't know how to stop the choke.
Yeah, but even if you do,
it's still an eternity.
It's so long.
Nobody wants to be mounted, and nobody wants to be,
I'm just saying, in emergency, people rely on the police and the fire.
You can't rely on yourself.
You have to have some sort of buffer for that 5 minutes to make it till they can show up and help. Self-preservation. This is why you should have fire extinguishers. This is why you should have an emergency plan to get out of your house if it's on fire.
Have rubbing alcohol and Band-Aids in your house.
Yeah, you got to have compression. Right. Those are important because you still have to survive for 6 minutes. You can bleed out in 2 minutes.
Right, you got to survive for them to get there.
Yes.
And even when they get there, they don't know what's going on. I mean, even with some of the cases, sometimes they think you're the person.
Oh yeah.
And you hope that that's not the case. I mean, so in this scenario, I mean,
I've made quite a few 911 calls.
It's a conundrum.
And
we're gonna dispatch you to DPS. Oh, that's on the freeway. DPS. That's fire.
I've been blown off a couple times. I've called 911. It was busy. Busy. You're like,
And that goes back to the argument of defunding the police. No, they need to fund the police more. These guys need the training. And those two guys, those two cops at the door, shouldn't have had to call their sergeant. They should have enough knowledge whether or not to make that decision. Those two cops should have been able to make that decision.
Yeah.
They shouldn't need authorization from a sergeant.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's sit here and let's go. I've been through the training. I understand what's going on here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's a training problem. Yeah. And I think that they all should be trained. They should all be trained in conflict management. I mean, literally, I hate to say this because I like yourself, I read a lot of self-help books because of my upbringing, and I want to form better relationships with people.
Yeah.
I tend to be a little more on the aggressive side. Mm-hmm. So I read those books so that way I can figure out.
It's good though that you're trying.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
There's plenty of people just don't fucking try.
Right.
They're not trying to make them better, and they have no realization that there is even a problem.
Right, but that's
the first problem is knowing that there's a problem. Now you're going, okay, I'm trying to work this out.
Right.
That's a good thing, man.
Right. And it's a book away. They've got a book called Conflict Management. It's a lecture on audiobook on Audible.
Oh, nice.
It's called Conflict Management, and it just talks about how to deal with people in conflict.
That's great.
And so I'm not saying that as a cop, if I was a cop, I would try to be better at those things.
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly would train jiu-jitsu 100% of the time.
Bro, that is...
It's the hardest job ever.
It's the hardest job ever. And back to the fire department thing is like, I've always said like,
everybody's happy to see a firefighter.
Everyone's happy to see the firefighter.
Right.
Nobody's happy to see the officer. And then it could be not you didn't do something wrong, but you're involved with something bad that happened, and something bad happened to you, and you still see the police. It's not like, oh, I'm happy that they're here. It's like, no, I either got robbed or I got broken into or whatever the scenario is. It's never a happy thing.
Right. No, that's the case too, because I
the
can't.
The fire department here to save somebody,
right,
or something, property even.
Absolutely.
And you're like, yay! There's gonna be a possible positive outcome.
Right.
The police, there's almost never a positive outcome.
I flipped a Jeep in the desert over by the Rio Verde, right? I flipped it back up. I drove it back out, but the sun was going down, and I had two flats. I'm in the middle of the desert. So I probably should have just called a tow truck, but I had Alec with me and my dog, and we were, out in the middle of nowhere. And so I called the sheriff's department. They came out there. You know what they did? They called the tow truck, and then they ticketed me for failure to control my vehicle. I'm like,
thanks, guys.
Car is fucking destroyed. I called you for help in case I couldn't find my way back out of the desert, dude.
Awesome.
Thanks, man. Thanks for the ticket. I know my truck's destroyed. That is the penance right there.
They can do that in the middle of the desert?
Yeah.
You're not on a road.
Failure to control my vehicle, and I was in the middle of the desert. Like, I was out there, and I flipped my truck, and I called them to come.
I would take that to court. I'm like,
well, I was young.
Is this private property? Because on private property, they can't give you. You could speed on private property.
Can you?
Yeah. That's why if you don't have to stop for stop signs in a parking lot.
Well, you still should, because don't be a dick.
No, but I mean, if there's nobody around, I don't stop for stop signs.
No.
I just drive through it. I could see.
Right.
I'm not going faster than 5 miles an hour.
Here, right.
In a parking lot, I'm going like 5 miles an hour.
Right.
But they can't write you a ticket because it's not. Those stop signs never say City of Phoenix on it.
Oh, see, there you go.
It's a private property.
That makes
You
sense.
can't. And then even when you get in an accident there, it has to be over a certain amount of damage, and they won't even come out.
I had to pay for the tow truck $250, and then I had to buy new tires for my truck, for my Jeep, and then I had to pay for the ticket. I was like, dude, I called you because I was out in the middle of the desert, and this is what you do?
Yeah.
So I think
I'm not anti-police.
No, not
at all.
Not at all.
But I don't.
I
haven't had a lot of positive interactions, and I've had more than I'd like to.
Right.
Have in none of these were incidents where I did anything wrong.
Right, of course.
I just happened to be somewhere or whatever.
Right.
Like when they broke in here, and they showed up hours and hours and hours later, and then I told him I had video, and he's basically fuck off. And then he told me the detective, and then I tried to contact the detective. They never called me back.
Why does it feel like that?
I was
feel
like
along the way, I had a car stolen out of the square, and I felt like the cop was like, well, cars usually when they get stolen, they end up over there. So you want me to go get it?
Yeah. When my car got stolen, first of all, my wife screwed up. She left the keys. She dropped them near the car. Oh. Kids basically did a joyride.
Of course.
And you know how I found my car? I called the police. I found the car from Facebook.
Found the car.
Facebook. I said, anyone out there, this is the picture of my car. Right. If you see it, let me know.
Right.
Someone saw it, and they contacted me, and I found it.
And so you had to go over there?
And I went over there, and the cop goes, well, we're not going to find whoever. I'm like, what the fuck?
That's what they said to me. Like,
why does anyone even call the police?
Why would I bother with you? The car's gone.
What is your real job
Call me and let me know if you find a car, okay? They found my car in Lower Buckeye. I had bought this car. I put all my equipment in. It was when I was young, so I was being silly. And I found it in Lower Buckeye on donuts. And they're like, oh, yeah, we found your car. And I was like, oh, thanks, man. Like, if you're looking for your car, it's over there. It seems like, I don't know. It seems like, I don't know if they're legally restrained or what the fuck's going on. But
I think they just don't care.
I mean,
they just don't care about doing their job.
Well, it's kind of like though, like, let's say if you're not appreciated, right?
Yeah.
Let's say your family doesn't appreciate you.
Yeah.
Right? Or your boss doesn't.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
So you just don't work hard.
You're just like, fuck you, don't like me then. Fuck you, then I just don't do the best of my ability. And it's unfortunate, but then maybe we need to rebrand the idea of police. And I don't know, what would you call them then? You call them peacekeepers? like is in keeping the peace.
Yeah.
As versus the other way around, which is serve and protect, but you're serving and protecting who?
Property owners,
Right.
I guess.
You're serving tickets
Yeah.
and protecting property.
I guess.
I
don't know.
Because I mean, no cop. I don't think any cop gets into the industry to serve somebody a ticket on their way to work on their. You know what I mean?
No.
In the morning, that sucks. That's got to be the sucky situation to be in.
Yeah.
They think it's going to be a good job where they can change the community. I'm sure it's the same thing with politicians.
Yeah.
I'm going to change the community. I'm going to do the best. And then they get into it and realize this is a damn rat race I got to follow.
Yeah.
And the culture kind of continues, on.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate. So maybe they should rebrand and reapproach the way they police. And different. That's why the DOJ is even, DOJ is investigating the Phoenix Police Department at this point.
Yeah. So I know someone that I can't say their
Of
name.
course not. Right.
That works in the Phoenix
Right.
DA.
Of course.
And his theory is Kamala Harris was in San Francisco, and I'm not a fan of her because she did some put a lot of people in jail.
Right. You can't. It's one of those things you got to talk the talk and walk the walk.
And anyway, I guess the chief of police here was also in California. They know each other.
Oh, really?
She claims Kamala Harris is going to basically shake hands and get her a job, and within a year, she'll be in D.C. Like, they're just going to come here and say, oh, yeah, we fixed the Phoenix Police Department. And then the chief of police will end up with a nicer job in the Department of Justice because that's a better job.
Right.
It's a stepping stone.
Right.
They're just like,
it's all politics.
It's just politics, not really doing anything. I don't know. Well, that's his theory. We'll see.
That doesn't take care of all of the men and women that are police officers that are in the field. It helps nobody.
No.
It doesn't help the community. It doesn't help the men and women that are in that job. That job is a rough job.
Hard. Yeah.
And back when I was younger, I remember. I mean, like they will shoot you if you attack. And I remember like growing up in an abusive environment.
Yeah.
I watched the men in my life. I've watched the men in my life fist fight several cops at a time.
Oh, jeez.
And they never shot him.
Oh, no.
That was justified. That would have been a justified homicide. But instead they pepper sprayed him and hit him over the head with billy clubs. No. But then nowadays they shoot for no reason. Which
shoot.
Here's your tool belt. This is all the items you need to learn.
Yeah.
And that's all you know how to use.
Well, now they don't ever fight. They'll just shoot you with the taser or pepper spray you.
And you hope the person can't endure that.
Yeah. And then if that doesn't work, then they're shooting you.
Right.
And
but
it's just lazy. That's almost like this laziness. I don't want to get hit, so I'll just shoot you with the taser.
I have been in multiple.
I've seen so many videos of dudes just they don't even tell them to stop. They just shoot them with the taser.
Well, it's enough.
Just because it's like
you see
fat.
me pointing it at you, right?
And then they just go
That's done.
Tag you.
Right.
And then they cuff you, and that was it.
I have a belief.
Like wild animals, like darting wild animals.
Right. Absolutely. Well, I have a belief that like if you give them the confidence to use it to not go to their tool belt, then they don't go to their tool belt. I mean, I know that
just undertrained, dude.
Undertrained,
and they're not really retrained very much either.
Well, it's the same culture. It's the same culture repeating itself, and then they're trying to blend it in, but they're not doing anything. I don't know the culture. I'm not in there, but what I'm saying is that it's a repeated situation. And so going back to it, you have to start at the basics. Is you can't your first situation shouldn't be to reach for your damn gun or reach for your taser.
Yeah.
You got to be you got to defuse the situation. What is it from Texas? What is it called? Roadhouse.
Oh yeah.
What does he say? If he needs to be walked out, walk him out, but do it nicely.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's taking care of the community. And I have a lot of experience. Trying to get on the Phoenix Fire Department, and their biggest thing is customer service. This is our community. We're serving them. Yeah. Like we're gonna go out of our way. We're like, if we go take care of somebody and their car's there, we're gonna drive their car to the station if we're taking them to the emergency room, a firefighter sometimes will drive your car to the emergency room, and it'll be waiting for you when you get out. You know what I mean? Those kinds of things. Or I've heard stories where they go to a house and the house is overgrown. It's an old lady. She needed help. And they'll go there and trim the lawn and trim the trees and everything. But that needs to carry over to the police department. It needs to be a customer service business.
We have
care.
Todd. I won't say his last name, but he was in DPS Gang Task Force for a while, and he was and then he was in the Department of Corrections Game Task Force. And he did a ton of undercover stuff. He's done all kinds of stuff.
Really?
And he was like, they don't do their own communities. Like, you should almost live in the community that you police. Because if I had to see you, tomorrow at Safeway and go, hey, Bob, and you're like, hey, man, you beat the crap out of my son. Would you still do that?
No,
probably not.
Because you know him.
Because you know him.
But if you don't have any, and I say this,
community policing. You live where you police.
Live where you police, but that's the hard part because
that's hard because what if you want to move?
Well, not even that, but like let's say people of color, right? They
what's that?
People of color, right? Right. I got you. They don't want to, is a stigma like, being a cop is being a snitch. You know what I mean? But you don't get real change unless we put more people of color in a uniform and then change the culture a little bit. And like you said, being in that neighborhood, seeing a familiar face approach you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that's the important part in regards to that. Like, you don't have to live in the neighborhood, but you definitely have to walk the beat. You have to talk to people, shake hands with somebody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Get to know them. Like, get out of your car. And I get it. Like, you don't know who's trying to get you, who's not trying to get you, but you can't hide in your car the whole time.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. I know that, but you got to gain the trust of the community somehow, some way. You have to rebrand and rechange things because the way you're doing it is not working. And if it was based on customer service, that welfare check would have been a customer service thing. And it's the reason why fire would have gone in versus the police being held legally bound. I mean, I guarantee you, I'm sure those two officers didn't. One of them was like, "This sucks that we can't go in." I mean, but for me as a cop, I don't know. Me as a person, as a human being, because I told during that meeting with the PD, as a human being, outside of your uniform, outside of your stature, that information would have been enough for you to go in. For your kids, if it was your kids, that information would have been enough. Oh yeah,
for sure.
But you didn't.
Yeah, if you put yourself in the other person's shoes, you would have went in.
But they're legally bound and they can't accept responsibility. And I don't expect them to.
It's hard because
I don't expect them to because they're not responsible.
They're always trying to look for their pensions too because you're in X amount of years. Right. You have a pension that could be taken away from you. You could be, taken off your job.
Doctors carry insurance per doctor.
Yeah.
For lawsuits, right?
Yeah.
So maybe that's something. Maybe that's an approach.
Well, that would be no one would become an officer because it costs you too much.
Right now, from what I understand, and this is not a statistic that I know offhand, but because I follow both of them on social media, fire and police. But from what I hear, 6 people showed up for the police department test, and the line for fire department was around the damn block.
Oh, for sure.
And that's unheard of. I mean, you don't get 6 people to just. And maybe to a certain point, I don't know their hiring protocols. Maybe we shouldn't look for somebody who's done nothing his whole life. Maybe somebody who's been around the block a few times and said.
Well, that was the other thing that Todd told me about was he was like, they're so strict of what they exclude you for. Like you get these guys that have never done anything, right. So they have no.
There's no empathy.
They're like, I've never smoked a joint. Right. I've never drank before I was illegally able to drive.
Back when it was illegal, should a dime bag ruin your life?
Yeah. And, it's like they can't relate
exactly
to the people. Not that
you or I just saw a dime bag, we crumble up, throw it in the trash or whatever, and be like, "Don't do it again, and get on." You know what I mean? That's not worth the paperwork. It's not worth the time. It's not worth destroying your life.
Yeah. Well, now it's legal,
of course,
but still, like what I'm saying is the process to pick these guys is putting a certain type of person in that job, and not all of them, I don't know, are qualified. And I think they should be paid more. I mean, man, there's so many things. They should be paid more. I also think, you get burnt out. Teachers, you see this in teachers, too.
Yeah.
We probably got to wrap up soon. But,
sure, no worries.
Teachers, the same thing. Like, when they're old, they're just burnt out. And, they're waiting for that pension. Mm-hmm. I got to get my 20 years. Mm-hmm. So that last 5 years is just bullshit. Yeah. Like, they're not really putting the effort in.
Right.
But these people are life and death. You don't really want someone in a life and death job not giving a shit anymore.
Right. Well,
that's not good. That's I don't know how to solve that either. Because they should get pensions. They did the work. I just think they should get pensions at 10 years. Well, this should be like a 10-year job, and you know that you're not working past 10 years.
Partial pension or something?
Yeah, or something so that you don't just wait when you're not really into the job anymore. Like, you get certain X amount of years in, and he's like, man, I'm going to lose all this.
Right. Well, you even see that with
I built in.
Well, you see it with teachers too. You're talking about teachers.
They just kind of
the teachers
hang in.
Well, teachers. I mean, what do you expect? I mean, you pay them nothing.
Yeah.
And then they have a high degree. My wife has a master's degree.
Yeah.
But she loves teaching, and I have no degree, and driving a truck pays at least 2 times more than that,
Yeah.
maybe even 3 times sometimes.
Yeah.
And she has a master's degree.
Well,
I couldn't write an
know.
essay to save your life, but she can teach your children
Yeah.
how to do math that I couldn't even imagine, because I don't really care enough. I'm older now, but more so because, but she can do that.
Yeah.
But I cannot.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's value. And they should have pensions, and they should be taken care of. They should be paid more. They should be paid just as much as police officers, just as much as the fire department does. You know what I mean? Those people need to be protected and taken care of, because that's the future of our nation. They deal with your kids daily. When this pandemic hit, because my wife's a teacher, I saw this. When this pandemic hit, parents didn't know what the fuck to do. They were calling her going, he won't do his homework.
Yeah.
What the fuck do you mean he won't do his homework?
Yeah.
Now, I hate to cuss and say that, but like, why are you calling the teacher for that?
Yeah.
Because the teacher knows how to handle your child to get him to do homework, because she's got the training. She's been through. She's got a master's degree.
I remember when we were doing it at home. I'm lucky that Carly doesn't work.
Right.
So she was basically a teacher, and she was a teacher aide for a while. So she
gets it.
Yeah. But my kids would do the work in like 3 hours.
Right.
I'm like, what are you guys doing at school for 6 hours? I'm like, it's just like mandatory. There's a lot of bullshit. I'm like,
the red tape is so deep you could never even imagine.
I was like,
the political
what do you
process
do all day? I don't understand. Like, we understood all this material
right away,
and we did it all.
Right. But the standards have to be met, because your children did it in 3 hours, right?
Yeah.
But you have a classroom of 20 or 30.
Yeah.
And and that teacher's got to make sure everybody gets it, because the school's funding relies on whether or not that child passes the state standard test.
Teachers get X amount of breaks, then you have recesses, so you just take those hours out of the day, and then how much does it take to walk from one class to the next class, and then settle in,
Children
and then
are like
they
herding
get ready.
cats.
Yeah. So there's so much time that
you teach a child's class.
Oh yeah, I know.
You've had some space cadets, I'm sure.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, you're like, hey, buddy.
This is part of the deal. I get it. I'm just saying, I remember how much like.
But imagine if
my kids, I was like, why do they have? My youngest one hates school, so he doesn't have trouble in school.
Right.
He's just bored.
Right.
He's like, I don't need to sit here. And then I was like, well,
I got the information.
I can't really argue your point either.
Right, that's true.
I'm like,
well, we have found out that
homeschooling.
We have found out that online schooling for some people is more beneficial. My son Landon was killing it on online schooling. He loves that, because he gets his work done. It's done, and he's back to doing what he wants to do.
What he wants to do, yeah.
I'm like, just get the work done, and you're done. I'm fine. Okay, you're fine. We're good.
And he likes hanging out with kids, but that's about it. Like,
right.
Everything else he could just.
Well, that's the hard part we talked about. Remember, like if you're online schooling, you don't get that social.
You don't get social interactions.
Yeah. You don't get that. You don't get the arts and crafts. You don't get all the other stuff. But it comes down to, and I've been with my wife for about 15 years now, and it comes down to politicians putting this restraint that the kids have to meet these standards. All of the kids have to meet the standards, which is fine. But you want them to jam in more information every year, and you're not giving them more time to do it in. And so my wife goes to work in the morning and doesn't return back to the house till 7 or 8 at night sometimes, because she's got to, sometimes she'll stay extra to help that kid that had some problems. But even furthermore, like, we're talking about government classrooms, government funded classrooms versus teacher funded classrooms. So you already don't get paid enough, but on top of that,
you're paying for.
You got to buy all this stuff.
Yeah.
And then, so I told my wife, I said, if I was a teacher, it would be just the desks and whatever the school gave, because I already don't make enough.
Yeah. So
you want to pay me $60,000+ a year?
Yeah.
I will decorate the shit out of this classroom. But other than that, if you're gonna pay me like you're paying me now, it's gonna be desks. It's gonna look real cold.
This isn't gonna sound well, but most teachers are women.
But
and
maternal
if
instincts.
you had more male teachers, would you have as much decorating in the class, or would you keep that money and just go, this is what we're getting done, this is what we're going to get done, I don't need cool rainbow pictures on the wall of like a cat hanging on a branch that said hang in there.
We don't have that calendar board.
Look, I want you to stare
I got
forward.
this kitty cat calendar I got for free on.
Yeah. I mean, I think part of that
But it's pride.
Is
you know
that,
what I mean?
you know, like, and
Pride.
I guess, yeah, you're working in your area. You want it to look nice or whatever.
Well,
but
it's like that's their cubicle, right? And so that's their work domain. They want to be prideful of their area, and they and
supplies though is still supplies, man. You got to pay for supplies.
Well, they're mothers.
Bullshit. Yeah.
You know, mothers. We all, they're moms.
Yeah.
You know, we get it. Men. Look, I splurge. I eat eggs and tuna fish every day.
Yeah.
I don't need anything else.
Yeah.
Eggs you can make any kind of way you want to.
Yep.
Tuna fish. It's tuna fish.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But for women, that's not the same thing. They can't live off eggs and tuna fish every day.
Yeah.
That's not their jam. You know what I mean? And it's just that's why we're built differently. I can't live like that, and I can't birth babies into the world.
It's true.
And I wouldn't, because if it was based on us, we'd never have babies. that looks entirely too painful.
Oh wow.
Ever. Entirely too painful.
Yeah.
I would
There's
never
a lot
ever.
of work.
Ever. That's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
But that's why you're good at what you do, and I'm good at what I do.
It's true.
Men have their place, and women have their place, and we can't. We're gonna get deep in the weeds about that. But regardless, if it was a male teacher, you would probably just see desks and a calendar, and he'd be like, "This is what we're doing," because I'm not giving you any more of my money.
That's like
I already owe the student loan.
Like Catholic schools, like super plain,
right?
You know, and they teach
the essentials,
but those kids almost do better because they don't learn a lot of bullshit either.
Right.
They just learn math, reading, writing, and a little bit of science.
Well, their parents are also paying for them to go there.
Yeah.
What was it, Xavier or Brophy? It's like $20,000 a year.
Oh, yeah, it's crazy amount of money.
A year?
Scottsdale Christian is right down the street here. It's crazy. It's like
that means everybody you're there all the kids there got money like that.
Yeah. But I'm saying also those classrooms are just the bare basics, but sometimes I feel like the bare basics are enough. My kids got something home about internet safety or whatever, and I'm like, you're learning internet safety, which is good,
right,
but I really just need you to learn math and English. That should be kind of my job.
Right.
And it was a reminder that like I need to teach you internet safety, but I don't know if that's a subject.
It is.
You know, we have so much time in the classroom and we're supposed to learn more.
Well, we have to have parents buy in with teachers, right? And a lot of parents are going, well, you gave them the homework and you gave them the work, so do it. And so now the teacher's like, well, if I want the child to be successful, I have to stay afterwards.
Yeah.
And a lot of parents would go, don't buy into their child's education.
Oh,
and,
for
and
sure.
even furthermore, my experience has been not with my wife, but with Alec going into high school and stuff.
Yeah.
If you're a parent that doesn't show up to parent-teachers conferences with your kids, every single one, or open house, your kid in high school won't be watched after. Not because they don't want to, but because you don't have buy-in. And if you're not buying in, you need to buy in, or else the teacher's like, I'm not going to.
I try to make those, but Carly at least makes them.
Well, somebody needs to.
My problem is that I work at night because I teach.
Of course.
Most of these are at night.
Right, of course.
5 o'clock, 6 o'clock.
Right.
And 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock.
As long as somebody's there, they know that somebody's watching, and that means that, you know, because in high school, it's 30,
Carly
30,
goes
40,
to all of them.
30, 40 students.
We don't ever skip those things.
It's
ever.
important.
And
it's
we
important.
go to them. But I even will try to make them. I'll see if someone can cover to try to make them.
Right.
But it's harder because I have to leave my job to do it, and I'm the only one that makes the money.
Of course.
I gotta. It's kind of important that I'm here.
But that's to say, like I don't see that. Like my wife does more than the average teacher. I think. I don't know, because I don't know this.
Oh no, they're all
busting their asses.
Overworked for sure.
And you are getting some people that.
I also just think there's a lot of bullshit in school too. Because
of political red tape.
Necessarily have to do.
Because you got somebody behind a desk telling the teacher what to teach them.
We went to charter school for a bit before we went to the public school, and we're at the public school because Deer Valley District teaches Mandarin.
Oh.
So it's in our neighborhood. So Brock has taken Mandarin for like 4 years now.
Is he good?
Yeah, well, pretty good. I mean, it's 4 years of Mandarin.
I mean, can he speak something?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah.
No
he can speak. Yeah.
Wow.
It's funny. We'll watch shows. We watch Big Trouble in Little China. And they go in the elevator, and he's like, "Oh, those are numbers." I'm like, "Well, it is an elevator, but yeah, I'm cool that you could read all the numbers."
What's that number say? Don't play me.
Yeah. Well, it said up and down, and he
right.
knew that. You know, like he knows a lot of the basics of Mandarin, but hopefully he goes all the way to 12th grade. And so Deer Valley District, you can take it every single year. So he'll have 12 years of Mandarin, and then whatever he can do with that.
That's resourceful because.
So I wanted to do that because, in my opinion, China's taking.
That's what I was gonna say.
Over, brother.
That's what I was gonna say.
It's just the way it is.
Because China's in Mexico right now digging lithium. I think it's lithium mines.
Yeah.
And you're gonna see
They're everywhere.
People from Mexico speaking Mandarin.
When
and
I went
you're going
to
to see Chinese people speaking Spanish.
Yeah, when I went to Belize, they were in Belize.
Really?
They're the construction that build all the roads.
It's crazy.
And they're in Africa. They're everywhere.
Right.
They're everywhere.
They're smart.
Anyway, so we did that, but I noticed Brock and Ryder were so far ahead of all the public kids schools because we did this charter school. They were so much tougher, and they learned less of like other subjects, like I said, like internet safety and all these kind of things. Like they were just math, English, science, and the classrooms were smaller, so they had like 20 kids instead of 30 kids, because right now they have like 30 kids.
Right.
Now Brock's is all in the advanced classes, so his classes are less. There's probably like 15 kids, and which is super helpful because if you do have a problem, there's one teacher, 15 kids. That's not that bad. 30 kids, I mean, double it. That's a lot. So when they went to the public schools, they were just like killing it. They're like, this is easy. And I was like, I don't know, man. Like, you know, it was just way easier than the charter school.
Well, when Alec went from charter school to high school, that's when it became important to have your buy-in. I mean, it's important to have buy-in, period. Yeah. But if you have a teacher that's 30, 40
but
kids.
I think if you take your kids to charter school, you're already bought in because it was a process just to get there.
Right.
Where you just sign up for your neighborhood.
You went out of your way to go to that school.
You went out of the way. So the buy-in is already there. Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah. But it is because if you spent the time as a parent, as a dad, like, I did all this work to get you here. You're like, I want to know that you're doing what I got you here to get to do.
Right.
So
when it comes to public school, you got to really worry about that.
Yeah, because a lot of the parents will. They're just like, that's babysitting.
That's what you do. That's babysitting. And the babysitting, that's crazy. During the pandemic, that's how people were calling it babysitting.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, they're not babysitting.
No. But
crazy.
But it's time that they don't get to have to watch their kids.
Right.
It's not babysitting in the concept of like they're just
it's crazy
sitting watching you. They're teaching your kids, but parents aren't used to not
having that time during the middle of the day.
Having get stuff done or whatever, or to sit on their ass, whatever they're doing.
But if you're a teacher and you have 40 students in one classroom, and 40 children. I mean,
that's crazy.
What's your children's class size in jiu-jitsu at one time? It's not 40, is it?
Well, no, because now I broke all my classes down into different age groups.
Oh, did you?
So I have a 3 or a 4 and 5 age group. Then I have a 6 and 7 age group. Then I have a 7 to 11, and then I have a teen class that's 12 to 15.
That's great.
And then your adult. So all my classes have been broken down, and now I have about 2 to 3 helpers per class.
That's great.
So even the classes that we have 20 in, I have 3 to 4 people.
Right.
So that breaks it down to like
it does.
5 kids for one adult.
Right.
That's
good. But if you had,
first of all, I don't think any jiu-jitsu school has that.
Right.
But
well, you have buy-in.
It's helped us.
Heavy buy-in.
Yeah, we have heavy buy-in. Yeah.
Right.
The teacher.
You have a family environment where
I have a family environment, and
yeah,
it's not. I don't encourage people like you used to watch Alex all the time, and Aiden, and all your kids, and you would sit there and watch. I encourage parents. I don't want you to drop your kids off
and then bounce
and go do chores or whatever. That's not what I need you to see what we're doing here, so you see the value.
Right.
Yeah. So that's this.
I think that's
what I encourage.
Right.
But anyway, the original point is like 20 is about the most.
Right.
And then age groups are hard. So I have one class that's the Mat Monkeys, and there's about 12 kids in there, but I still have 3 of us. But that's hard even with 12 because the age group of 6 to 7, some kids are more mature than others, And obviously the more mature kids, they need less help.
Right.
But the ones that aren't mature, they're still wild. They're still learning how to like get along. It's more like social things, not learning jiu-jitsu. It's like how to stand in a line, how to keep your hands to yourself, how to not talk back, how to not talk when I'm talking. Pay attention, focus on me, look at me.
Right.
You
show a move and then you guys break up, and then all of a sudden you're back over there trying to do that one-on-one with them, which is what you get paid to do. But still, I've sat everybody around. I showed the move.
Yeah.
You know the basics. Now you got to go back around and do it again with each person again and again and again.
Yeah,
and that's tough with jiu-jitsu, because I've been there, because I used to help you instruct, but because I would find myself there too. Like, I just showed this to you. I just literally showed it 3 times.
I get it all the time. It's part.
So you
of
imagine
the
how
gym,
teachers
man.
feel for 40 kids or 20 kids,
which is more complex
with
subjects.
no assistant.
Which is more complex.
I just went over this whole lesson on the board for an hour,
and
you don't remember any of it.
Yep.
Like,
and I was that kid,
me too.
because of ADD. It's just hard. I couldn't.
Well, you got bored, the same as you say.
I got bored
talk about your children. I got bored. I'm like, I don't like sitting down in a desk situation for that long.
I can't do that
without even talking or anything. I gotta just sit here and stare at you and do this thing.
Yeah.
I gotta be interacting. Gotta be moving and talking and working.
Yeah.
So yeah. So
anyway, man, let's wrap it up. We talked forever.
Well, I appreciate you having me.
My goal with this was, when you came to me, was like, hopefully this will help people understand.
And if you have any questions, we're here.
And to just get it off your chest.
Absolutely.
So hopefully we accomplish something like that.
Right.
I'm really, 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 really surprised I didn't cry.
Well, I saw it coming. I watched your eyes. I've seen this enough times.
I got to look close.
You're gonna cry.
I'm a crier, bro.
Right.
Like, so I am proud of myself that I didn't break down.
I could see the eyes though. I've seen it over and over again. People are holding it back.
The week when it happened, man, I was a friggin' mess, man, and I just was a mess.
He just did not know how many people he
didn't
impacted.
People were like, "Well, he hasn't been here in years." I'm like,
it's not about that.
Doesn't matter, man. Like, saw him. I told everyone I saw him a minimum of twice a week for like 8 years.
Right.
That's not
sometimes
normal.
Every single day.
Yeah, sometimes every day. Like, how many scenarios are that a thing? Like, even in school, a teacher has a kid for 1 year, and it's not a full actual year. It's a 9
hours or more.
It's 9 months, and then after that, they don't really see that kid, maybe randomly.
Right.
I saw Alex every day for 9 years, bro. So the connection is just different. Well, and even if I don't see him for 5 years or whatever it's been, I don't know how long you guys have been gone, but it's still, I had a connection, man. And like, I have kids come back all the time, and I talk to kids that grown up and they're freaking grown men, but like, I don't know, man, that connection is going to always be there. They're going to have kids. They might even have grandkids. If I'm still alive, I'm going to remember. And
he was becoming a great man. He was becoming better than I could ever be.
Yeah. You did a good job.
Right.
You did a good job.
I couldn't have done half of it without my wife and her maternal instinct, and you know what I mean? So, because I'm hard. I'm a knuckle dragger, so I drive down the middle. Yeah, but so we need some softness.
The balance of why I think it's important to have a mother and a father.
Right.
And when you only have one, either one, it's always better with two halves, so you get both.
Right.
Someone to hug you and someone to tell you when you're being a dick face.
Buck up, buttercup. It's time to do it.
Yeah, you need both.
Right.
That's a part of a balanced human.
Right.
So you did.
I mean, where do you go? Where do you go when you're sad? You go to your mom.
Yeah, and you did a good job, and you picked a good woman.
Yeah.
To be a part of your life with him, and so I don't know. I think you guys did a great job, and your other boys are gonna be great men too. You'll have two other great men.
I look forward to it. I look forward to seeing the men they're gonna become, and like
12 and what was this?
12 and 13. Man, Aiden's is almost up to my shoulders.
Your wife's tall.
Well, Aiden's just about this far from her head, about this close in height.
She's pretty tall, right?
Yeah, she's about almost as tall as me, maybe to my nose.
For a woman, that's tall.
Yeah, she's pretty tall. Yeah. I mean, I'm hoping that they get some height. My father was pretty tall, so we'll see. But I hope, like you said, I hope that this did help somebody. And if there's any questions, and I would say that never stop talking about it. Always find somebody to talk to. Make sure that they're serious. Make sure that you look them in the eye and say, "I'm having a tough fucking time," and make sure that they take you seriously about it. Don't just mention it in passing. Don't joke about it. Don't be passive aggressive about it. Drive down the middle and say it, because if Alec would have called me to that hotel room and he had the shotgun in his hand and he told me he was having a rough time and I came to that room, that would have been enough for me. Hell, it would have been enough for me not to have a shotgun in his hand. If you would have said, "I'm having a rough time, a really rough time, and I'm telling you this is what my thoughts are," all bets are off, and I'd be in the same scenario I am in now, minus losing a child. You know what I'm saying? Because we can't fix, and like I was talking about Eli earlier, we can't fix death, but we can fix everything before that. We can work on that.
Yeah.
We can't fix when you're gone. I can't fix that again.
Yep.
And all it does is break everything.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And we talked about that. So anyway, but I appreciate your time, and I appreciate.
Well, man, I'll pray for you to heal with time, and again, maybe something positive will happen with welfare checks, and that they'll get some changes that might benefit other people in the future.
Absolutely.
So I think that's it. Peace. That's it.
Thanks, man.
Let me talk for just a second, help me feel that sense of rhythm. Find the meanings in our bearings and discover this position as a stage along the way. Another rung to the ladder, either stalling or you're climbing, and I'd rather be the latter. Instead of getting fatter, let the footsteps resume naturally.